Now recognize the gentleman from California, Mr. Duarte, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, the panel. So I want to echo so much of what we've heard today in concerns with China and their competitiveness and their buying of our natural resources. But at this point, it might be echo, echo, echo. So I want to touch on a few other related matters that threaten American working families' food access and our national food security. Currently, we're seeing produce crops. There were $4 billion in imports from Mexico in 2000. Today, there are about 20 million tons of produce crops coming in from Mexico. We know that the avocado industry and other fresh produce industries are being capitalized by the drug cartels. We know the drug cartels are enjoying our open border policy, partnering with China for fentanyl and other sources. We also know that Mexico is aligning itself politically, as is a great deal of Central and South America, with China. Our produce industry is being recapitalized in Mexico, currently providing significant imports to American consumers. I'm very concerned that those exports aren't always going to flow to American consumers, and once our produce industry is replaced, we'll have little to say about it. Am I valid in that concern? I know. Kip, Ambassador, why don't you jump in?
Repeat the last part of that question again.
Is America subject to seeing its produce supply from Mexico diverted to China at any moment China decides they need that supply?
You know, as I witnessed in my time at Mission, we see these BRIC nations line up oftentimes together, and they'll do anything to cut the U.S. out of a supply chain and move in another direction. Anything that can affect us economically, they'll do it, but it could be a threat. It just depends on supply chains and getting our cold supply chains. My biggest risk is what I see in your home state of California, of how you're moving agriculture out oftentimes, especially in the vegetable, the permanent crops. It's moving other places around the world. But my concern about products coming out of Mexico is, are they produced with the chemicals or with the products that are approved in the United States? I'm not sure we track it all as well as we should.
Yeah. The other issue we have is here in the United States. I mean, we talk about intellectual property theft and how that hurts American companies in China, but we're losing intellectual property value here in America. We've addressed it in this committee several times, the USDA. They're just not approving our advanced farm chemistries. We have companies spending enormous amounts of money developing new tools for us, and we can't get our own USDA to approve them. Meanwhile, the patents tick away, and these crop protection companies lose their incentives to invest in American farm tools in the future. Am I on track there?
If you look on the crop care side, it's been almost 40 years since we've had a new mode of action come into the marketplace. That just shows how slow it is. It takes 18 years to bring a new chemistry to the market and hundreds of millions of dollars to get it there. I don't know if it's a funding issue or personnel issue.
I think it's just incompetence and disinterest in approving farm chemical tools. Another question, I just came from a natural resources hearing I stepped out to about offshore oil drilling. We're not exploring oil in America. We're not building our electric grid. We're focusing trillions towards green energy boondoggles, in my opinion. If you were advising an ag chem company to put in a major ag chemical or fertilizer plant, or pharmaceutical for that matter, or any kind of chemical precursors, would you in good conscience advise them to build that plant in America today, given our energy policies?
Well, as a producer, I want them here, but when I know our energy policy that's under this current administration, no.
And this is a 20-year plant. So a friendly administration may or may not sway a 20-year investment, maybe a 50-year investment. So,
you know, I can't tell you what their investment thesis is, but I know this. It's very capital intense to bring these plants back to the United States. But again, whether it's here or to our allies, we need to work together to do this.
So as China's growing its carbon economy, we hear about the coal plants, we know about the oil, we know about the rest of the world drilling oil. And America's choosing not to have a carbon economy. Our working families are struggling. We've got cereal companies advertising breakfast cereal for dinner now. Is our biggest problem China, or our own policies the biggest problem for American consumers today?
Sir, it's our own policies. And whether it's energy or whether it's food, and what we're doing in the regulatory environment, what we're trying to do, whether it's trying to solve climate, as some people say we're doing, or what we're trying to do in nutrition, this is going to affect those that can least afford it the most. I know we have people who are coming out trying to sell climate programs to us that they say, well, they're going to absorb it. It gets handed on to the consumer. Same goes with this energy policy. It's going to get handed on to the consumer.
So while China's upper middle class is growing, their disposable income's growing, their purchase power parity is already bigger than the American working families. They're not eating our lunch because they're buying our land. They're eating our lunch because we're feeding it to them. Thank you very much. I yield back.